Came home after a weekend trip with friends, expecting to be greeted by my loving husband. Instead, I found our wedding photo shattered on the floor. A single note was left on the counter. When I read it, my legs gave out. I'm a 52-year-old woman from Boston, Massachusetts. My husband, Mark, and I had been married for 27 years. We met in college, built a life together in a cozy home in the suburbs, and raised two wonderful children who are now living their own lives. Mark was my rock. He was dependable, kind, and had a sense of humor that could light up any room. We had our ups and downs, like any couple, but I always believed we were solid. A few months ago, my close friends and I planned a weekend getaway to Cape Cod. It was a tradition we started years ago, and it was something I always looked forward to. Mark encouraged me to go, saying he would enjoy some alone time. I left on a Friday morning, kissed him goodbye, and drove off with my friends, unaware of the storm brewing back home. I returned home Sunday evening, expecting to find Mark waiting for me with a warm hug and stories about his weekend. Instead, I walked into a silent house. The lights were off, and there was an eerie stillness. As I stepped into the living room, I noticed our wedding photo shattered on the floor. My heart sank. I rushed to the kitchen, where I found a single note on the counter. The note read, "Sarah, I'm sorry. I can't do this anymore. I've been living a lie, and I need to find my truth. By the time you read this, I'll be gone. Take care of yourself." Mark, my legs gave out, and I collapsed onto the kitchen floor, clutching the note. Tears streamed down my face as I tried to comprehend what was happening. I tried calling Mark's phone, but it went straight to voicemail. His car was gone, and so were some of his clothes. I felt like my world had been turned upside down. I reached out to our children, but they hadn't heard from him. I called his workplace, and they informed me that he had resigned the previous week. I was left with no answers, just a broken heart and a shattered sense of reality. A week later, I received a call from a mutual friend. She hesitated before telling me that Mark had been seen in Provincetown with another man. They were holding hands, looking very much like a couple. I was stunned. Mark had never mentioned any struggles with his sexuality. I felt betrayed, not because he was gay, but because he had hidden such a significant part of himself from me for decades. I went through a whirlwind of emotions, anger, sadness, confusion. I questioned our entire marriage. Were there signs I missed? Did he ever truly love me? I sought therapy to help me navigate these feelings. My therapist helped me understand that Mark's actions were not a reflection of my worth, but rather his own internal struggle. It's been a challenging journey, but I'm learning to find peace. I've reconnected with old hobbies, started volunteering, and even adopted a rescue dog named Max. I've also found support in online communities, including this one. Reading your stories has reminded me that I'm not alone. If you're going through something similar, know that healing is possible. It takes time, but with support and self-care, you can rebuild your life. Thank you for reading my story. 3 days after I got that phone call about Mark in Provincetown, I couldn't sleep. I hadn't slept much since the note. My mind just kept replaying everything, our last breakfast together, his smile, the way he kissed me before I left. I couldn't match that man to the one who left the note. I sat in our living room, the wedding photo still broken on the floor. I didn't have the heart to throw it away or fix it. Then something happened. Around 2 a.m., my phone buzzed. It was an unknown number. Normally I wouldn't answer, but something told me to pick it up. I said hello. Nothing. Then a shaky breath on the other end. "Sarah." It was Mark. I froze. His voice sounded different. Weak, almost scared. "Why are you calling me?" I asked. I felt anger crawling up my throat, mixing with all the pain I had been swallowing since he left. I messed up," he said. "I didn't know how else to leave. You left me a note and vanished." "That's not a mistake, Mark. That's cowardice." There was silence. Then he said, "Can we meet? Please. I owe you more than that note." I don't know why I said yes. Maybe I needed answers. Maybe I just needed to see his face and decide for myself if everything we had was real or fake. We agreed to meet at a park halfway between Boston and Provincetown. I drove there 2 days later. My stomach was a mess of nerves. When I arrived, I saw him sitting on a bench. He looked thinner. His beard had grown out and his eyes had bags under them. He looked older, sadder. We didn't hug. We didn't shake hands. We just stared at each other. "I'm sorry," he said again. "I know it's not enough, but I need you to hear it." "I don't need your sorry," I said. "I need the truth." That's when he told me everything. He had known he was gay since high school. He thought he could ignore it. He thought marrying me would fix him. He said he loved me in the only way he knew how, but he always felt like he was playing a part. The guilt, the hiding, it ate at him. The older he got, the harder it became to pretend. He said he didn't leave for someone else. He left because he felt like he was dying inside, every day. I listened. I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry. I wanted to hate him. But the only thing I felt was empty. All those years. All those memories. And he had been pretending? Then came the twist. "I'm sick," he said. "I found out 2 months ago. That's part of why I left. I didn't want you to have to go through it." "What are you talking about?" I asked. "Pancreatic cancer. Stage 3. It's bad. The air left my lungs. I couldn't move." He wasn't lying. Later, he showed me the diagnosis, the paperwork, the doctor's reports. Everything. So now I was staring at the man who broke my heart, the same man who might be dying. I didn't know what to do. Part of me wanted to walk away. Let him deal with the consequences of his choices. But another part of me, maybe the part that still remembered who he was before all this, couldn't turn her back. That night I drove home and cried until I couldn't breathe. I didn't tell the kids. Not yet. I didn't tell my friends either. I just sat in the darkness of our home, thinking, he lied to me for years. He built a life with me on a secret. Then he left like a thief in the night. But he was also the man I had loved since I was 25. And now he was sick. Alone. I didn't have the answers. I still don't. But I had a choice to make, and I knew it was going to break me either way. The next week was a blur. I went back and forth in my mind every hour. One moment I felt like I owed him nothing. He abandoned me, lied to me, lived a double life right under my nose. But then I'd remember the man who held my hand during both our kids' births. The one who made me tea when I had the flu. The man I thought I knew. I hadn't told anyone about the cancer. Not even our kids, Emma and Jake. I didn't want to drop that bomb until I knew what I was doing. Then, another twist hit me like a truck. I got a letter in the mail. No return address. Just my name, written in all caps. Inside was a single photo. Mark. With the same man from Provincetown. But this time, they weren't walking. They weren't holding hands. They were kissing. It wasn't grainy or accidental. It was clear, candid, emotional. The kind of kiss people share when they think no one's watching. The kind of kiss that said love, not a fling. There was no note in the envelope. Just the picture. My first reaction was rage. How could he lie again? How could he say he didn't leave for someone else and then be caught like that? I called him. He didn't answer. 2 days later, he texted, "Can we talk in person?" We met again, same bench. I didn't even sit down. I just held up the photo. He looked at it. Then he said quietly, "That was taken before I left." I stared at him. "I wasn't going to tell you," he said, "because I thought it would make everything worse. But yes, his name is Elias. We met at a support group for spouses of cancer patients. He was caring for his partner who passed away last year. I didn't mean for anything to happen. I didn't plan it. But he saw me for who I really was. I couldn't breathe. "So you were cheating," I said, my voice cold. He looked ashamed. Yes, I was. There it was. The one word I thought I'd never hear from his mouth. After everything. After the note. The photo. The lies. Now he finally said it. He cheated. And not only that, he found love. Real love. With someone else. I wanted to scream at him. I wanted to break something. But I didn't. I just stood there, shaking, while the man who once promised me forever sat quietly on that park bench and told me that forever had ended long before I realized it. Then he said something that changed everything again. "Elias wants to meet you." I blinked. Why the hell would I want to meet him? He thinks you deserve honesty. He thinks I owe you that. I didn't answer. That night, I went home, poured myself a glass of wine, and stared at our wedding album. I looked at my 25-year-old self smiling up at him, believing in the life we were going to build. And then I thought of Elias. The stranger who saw a part of my husband I never knew. The man who loved the version of Mark I never got to meet. And I wondered, what would I even say to him? The next morning, I called Mark. "Tell him I'll meet him," I said. "One time. That's it." He agreed. We met in a quiet diner just outside of Plymouth. Elias was nothing like I expected. He was calm, gentle, kind eyes, probably around the same age as us. He didn't flinch when I asked hard questions. He didn't dodge when I said, "You helped destroy my marriage." He said I didn't steal him. He was already gone. I couldn't argue. Not really. Then he told me something else. Something that made my stomach twist all over again. "Mark's not doing chemo," he said. "He's refusing treatment." What? I asked. Why? He says he doesn't want to drag it out. He wants to live what time he has left being honest. I felt like the floor dropped out again. The man I loved for half my life was not only dying, but he had decided to let the cancer take him. I left the diner without saying goodbye. Now I'm stuck. Do I support him in his last months, knowing he betrayed me? Do I walk away and try to rebuild my life without the guilt? It feels like every day I wake up in someone else's nightmare. It had been 3 weeks since I saw Elias. 3 weeks since I learned my husband was not only dying, but had chosen to let go of his health, of our life, of me. I hadn't spoken to Mark since. But I kept thinking about what Elias said. He wants to live what time he has left being honest. One Saturday, I got a text from our daughter Emma. She had just flown in from Seattle to visit me, unaware of everything. She said she was stopping by Dad's place to surprise him. I froze. I had never told her anything. I hadn't told Jake either. I thought I'd have time. But now that time was closing in fast. I called her right away. Emma, wait, don't go over there. Why? What's going on? I couldn't lie. Not anymore. So I told her. All of it. From the note, to the cancer, to the affair, to Elias. She didn't say much. She just whispered, "Mom, oh my God," and then hung up. The next morning, she showed up at my door. She was crying. "I saw him," she said. "He looks like a ghost." And he tried to pretend everything was fine, but I knew it wasn't. So I asked him about Elias. I sat on the couch, holding her hand, bracing myself. "He didn't deny it," she said. And then Jake came over. "What?" I said. "He was there too?" She nodded. It got bad. They both started yelling. Jake asked if Dad had ever loved you. He didn't answer right away. And then, her voice broke. Then he said he didn't know. That one sentence hit me harder than anything else. He didn't know. Not yes. Not no. Just that. The next day, we all agreed to meet at Mark's place. The kids wanted answers. I didn't know what I wanted anymore. He opened the door, thinner than before, but smiled when he saw us. The moment we stepped in, the tension sucked the air out of the room. We sat in the living room. It felt like a funeral before the death even happened. "I know you're all angry," Mark started. "I don't expect forgiveness." Jake stood up. "I'm not angry that you're gay, Dad. I'm angry that you lied to Mom for 27 years and then just disappeared." Emma was quieter. "How could you leave her with just a note?" Mark looked at me. Because I didn't know how to tell her the truth. I was ashamed. I didn't want her to see what I really was. I stared at him. "You were my husband. My partner. You made me feel like I was enough, like I mattered. And all this time, you were hiding." "I wasn't faking my love for you, Sarah," he said, tearing up. "It just wasn't the kind of love you deserved." I don't know what happened next, but suddenly I was on my feet, shouting. "Then why didn't you leave earlier? Why did you marry me at all? Why did you let me build a life with someone who didn't even know who he was?" He stood too. "Because I wanted to be normal. I wanted the life we had. I loved the idea of us." Tears spilled down both our faces. Emma sobbed. Jake walked out. Mark collapsed into a chair, coughing violently. His body just couldn't take it anymore. The silence that followed was unbearable. He looked like a dying man now, not just physically but emotionally, like all the masks had finally fallen. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I ruined everything." Nobody said anything for a while. In the days after, the kids stayed with me. Elias texted me once. Just once. "I didn't mean to hurt you. I just loved him." I didn't reply. 2 weeks later, Mark was admitted to hospice care. Emma visited him once. Jake refused. And me? I went. I sat by his bedside. Not every day, but enough. One night, when it was just the two of us, he reached out for my hand. "You saved me for years," he said. "And I broke you. I wish I had been stronger. I wish I had been honest." I didn't cry. I just looked at him and said, "I wish you had too." He passed away in his sleep a week later. At the funeral, Elias came. He stood at the back. Quiet. Alone. After the service, he walked up to me and the kids. "I just wanted to say goodbye," he said. Jake nodded but didn't shake his hand. Emma said thank you. I just looked him in the eye and said, "I hope you understand what you took." He nodded. "I do. Every day." Then he walked away. Now, months later, the house feels different. Empty, but also clearer. I've joined a grief support group. I've started gardening again. I walk Max every morning. And I've started writing, something I used to love but gave up when the kids were small. Some days are hard. Some are better. And some are just quiet. But I'm learning to live again. I don't hate Mark. Not anymore. But I mourn the life I thought we had. I mourn the years I gave to someone who was never really mine. Still, I'm alive. And that means I have more life to live. On my terms. I don't know what comes next. I don't know if I'll ever love again. But I do know this, I deserve the truth. And now that I have it, I'll never settle for anything less again.